Funny thing about people, you open a door and they start acting like they built the house. You share an idea, a dream, a little piece of your vision, and somehow they decide it belongs to them. That's not appreciation. That's entitlement. I gave you a seat at the table. You thought you owned the table. I showed you what I was building. You started calling it ours. But you never brought the bricks, never carried the weight, never signed your name where responsibility lived. When it came time to make it official, you wouldn't sign. But somehow you still felt entitled to everything I created. Every concept, every project, every late night idea, I trusted you enough to see. You took what I made, carried it somewhere else, put different names beside it, and sold pieces of it like you had the right. You confused my generosity with permission. I gave you access, not ownership. I gave you trust, not possession. You were standing beside me while I built the dream. Don't confuse that with building it with me. You don't own me. You don't own what I create. You don't get to take my vision just because you knew my name. I was generous. You mistook it for permission. But generosity ain't ownership, and access ain't possession. 6 years. That's how long I left the past alone. No calls, no arguments, no revenge, no campaign against you. Nothing. Then you came knocking, talking about reconciliation, like 6 years of silence was something I owed you. And somewhere between the pretending and the memories, you let it slip. I want revenge. Revenge for what? What did I take from you? What did I destroy? What did I do that requires punishment? Maybe that's the strangest part. You created a version of me that I don't recognize, then became angry at the woman you invented. I tried to walk away before. I said, I need some distance. You answered, we'll always be friends. No. Sometimes goodbye doesn't mean try harder. Sometimes goodbye means leave me alone. And then came the strange moments I'd mention your name. Minutes later, my phone would ring. I'd talk about something private. Somehow, you'd know. Maybe coincidence, maybe something else, I don't know. But when something happens over and over again, you stop ignoring the pattern. You start paying attention. You document, you protect yourself. You stop explaining and start preserving the truth. Because when people cross lines, eventually those lines leave fingerprints. You don't own me. You don't own what I create. You don't get to claim my vision because you knew me yesterday. I was generous. You mistook it for permission. But generosity ain't ownership, and access ain't possession. Listen carefully. My ideas aren't community property. My creativity isn't a clearance rack. My labor isn't charity for people who refuse to contribute, and my kindness, that was never a contract. I don't owe you another chapter because I let you read the first one. I don't owe you a percentage because you stood beside me while I built something. And I don't owe you peace if you keep bringing chaos to my doorstep. I'm not angry anymore. That's the part you won't understand. I'm not plotting, I'm not chasing, I'm not trying to take anything from anybody. I'm creating. Still, that's the difference. You thought taking my work would take my power, but my power was never inside the project. It was inside the person who imagined it. You can copy the blueprint, repeat the words, take the idea, put another name beside it. But you cannot duplicate the mind that created it, and you not own what I haven't even created yet. You don't own me. You don't own my vision. You don't own my labor. You don't own my future. I gave you access. You mistook it for ownership. I gave you trust. You turned it into possession. But I'm taking it all back. My voice, my ideas, my dreams, my name. Everything I create belongs to the woman who created it, me. You called it entitlement. I call it a lesson. Access ain't ownership, and kindness ain't permission. I'm still creating. And you're no longer invited. You're no longer invited.